So Dasharath Maharaj had prayed for sons because at that time that was how the lineage was passed on in terms of the king and who is ruling the kingdom. So later in history, you do see that there are queens who is solely responsible for ruling and governing. But at that time, that was the sort of tradition. And therefore, he prays for sons to continue the lineage. So if we rewind a little bit, prior to this sacrifice, there is something that is happening which explains why and how Ram is born in this family at this time. And that is at the same time as King Dashrath is living, there is another person known by the name of Ravana. Ravana is essentially causing havoc where he is. He is striking fear and terror into the hearts of ordinary people, but also the deities or the devatas in heaven. He is sort of kidnapping women, taking them to his kingdom. He is forcing people to be his servants, actually not even servants. He's forcing people to sort of serve him as slaves in his palace. And so he is this figure who has become just a figure of really just fear. And nobody can conquer him, nobody can defeat him, because he's been granted this boon that he can only be defeated by man or monkey. And at this point in the story, we often wonder why anybody would grant a boon to someone like this, right? Where was the foresight? Why did Ravana end up having so much power? So the interesting thing, and you see this in a lot of the stories, is that if someone puts in the time and the effort to perform austerity and to do penance, they will be rewarded according to the effort that they've put in. And if they've asked for something, unless it's not in the power, not within the power of the person they're asking, they generally will get what they've asked for. So Ravana does a huge amount of penance, and at the end of it, he asks to be all-powerful. Now, it's not possible for someone to be completely all-powerful in creation. So he adds this caveat that may I only be defeated by a human being whom he sees as completely sort of pitiful and powerless, and monkey, almost just because it's a joke to him that man or monkey could ever defeat him. So this is the boon he asks for. So now all the deities in heaven, they come to Lord Vishnu and they say, we are being really just kind of, we are being harassed in the most awful way by this Ravana. Please, can you come and do something? Lord Vishnu representing God, who is in charge of the entire creation, right? This is God as the creator, sustainer, dissolver of the universe, higher than whom there is no entity. So Lord Vishnu represents that God. All the deities come to him and say, please protect us. You alone can save us from Ravana. And of course, God, being very compassionate, says, yes, I will come as Ram. And I will, in the course of my life as Ram, I will defeat Ravana and uplift all of you and save you from him. So now this idea of incarnation, where God takes a form, remains as God, but lives as maybe a human being, maybe in another body. This idea is something that is very unique here. What is said is, because God is all-powerful, right? God can, at any moment in creation, take a form and come and live on earth. And this is what we call avatara. The word avatara comes from the Sanskrit word avataranam, which means to descend. Just like if you see, for example, you're walking somewhere and you see on the floor an insect that is turned onto its back and is struggling with its feet in the air. All it needs is a little bit of help to turn over, and then it can continue on its way. So you bend down and you just give it a hand, you turn it over. So you descend to the level of that creature to uplift it so that it can help itself. The idea of avatar is this, that God descends to steer us in the right direction so that we can help ourselves in life. And if there are people who need to be corrected, like Ravana, then he performs that role also. And so it's very clear in the Valmiki Ramayana, but also in the Tulsi Ramayana, that Ram is an incarnation. And he is born for this purpose, to protect those who are being harmed by this figure of Ravana. So Ravana is not only harming the deities or the devatas in heaven, but also on earth. Good people who are living their own lives, trying to follow their spiritual practices. He is making sure that none of that can happen. So the purpose for the incarnation is this: to protect the good, to correct the bad, and to reestablish the righteous way of life. Ram is born for this purpose. So the 4 boys are born: Ram, his younger brother Bharat, and the 2 sons born to Sumitra, Lakshman and Shatrughna. There is a really beautiful description of how they grow up. And what's said is, to Ram, Lakshman is like his breath residing outside his body. They are so close that Ram will not eat a meal without him or go anywhere without him. And in the same way, Shatrughna and Bharat are connected. They have that same loving relationship. And there is no enmity between the 4 brothers. They all excel at their own individual talents, but they all love each other and they all encourage each other and they all support each other. And so they're growing up in this way, being trained, of course, also to eventually take over and lead the kingdom. And when they are sort of teenagers, a sage comes to Ayodhya. That sage's name is Vishwamitra. Now, he has his own ashram in the forest. He is trying to perform his own practices. And he is one of the people who is not being allowed to do so by Ravana. And so he comes to Ayodhya and he approaches Dashrath Maharaj. And he says, I need your help. I need Ram to come with me to defeat these asuras or demons who are coming to destroy my sacrifice. I can't do it myself, and so please give me Ram. Dashrath Maharaj is so attached to Ram, that even though this is someone who he is received with so much respect, he has told Vishwamitra that the kingdom belongs to sages like you. I am just its custodian. In other words, he's putting everything in Vishwamitra's hands. But when Vishwamitra asks for Ram, Dashrath Maharaj says, no, I cannot send my son away with you. Now, as a king, he has a responsibility and a duty to protect his citizens, one of whom is Vishwamitra, no matter what it takes. And yet, he is being asked to do so, and because of his attachment to Ram, he is refusing. At this point, the family guru, Vasishtha, intervenes, and he talks to King Dashrath, and he says, listen, you cannot say no. Okay, you have to send Ram. And he talks him around and he helps him understand. And finally, King Dashrath agrees. And because Ram is going, Lakshman also goes. So wherever Ram goes, Lakshman is following along. Both of them are sent away with Vishwamitra. And of course, that leads to the next part of the story, which we'll see next time. But something to think about, which is when we're called upon to do our duty, what stands in our way? Sometimes there are external limitations or challenges that make it difficult for us to fulfill our responsibilities in a straightforward way. But more often than not, there is something within us, some thought or some desire, some attachment that holds us back from fulfilling our duty as we want to and as we should. So, what is it that holds us back? Hari Om.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Living Ramayana. To stay updated on Chinmaya Mission UK's activities, visit our website chinmayauk.org and follow us on social media. Subscribe to this podcast and join us for the next episode. Hari Om.